UFC Fight Night Jacksonville, Florida, Smith versus Teixeira just took place and wrapped up, and what an amazing card it was. It had everything on there. It had one-sided beatdowns, it had scraps back and forth, it had upset victories, it had dominant wins from favourites, it had it all, including a huge upset in the main event, which we're going to get to at the end of this video, but we're going to start with the early prelims, end with the main event, and go through the entire card, giving our reaction and breakdown to every single fight on the card, because there were so many amazing ones that deserve a little bit of spotlight. And I'm starting with the prelim opener. Chase Sherman is back in the UFC against Ike Villanueva. Ike Villanueva is no joke whatsoever. Hurricane Ike, they call him. 4 KOs in the first round coming into the UFC, or 4 KOs period coming into the UFC in a row. It was brutal, and he had a really good chance of upsetting Chase Sherman here, but Chase Sherman just showed that he is not just a bare-knuckle boxer. He's back in the UFC for good. He even started the fight off with a front kick. That's how you know he's no longer about this bare-knuckle boxing business, okay? Because I thought he was going to go out there and just be strictly boxing heavy against DK, but he came back out there and showed that he was still a complete mixed martial artist, used great leg kicks that he used against Rashad Coulter before, great front kicks to the body against DK as well. But EK, you got to give him credit, had an amazing chin, because Chase Sherman was hitting him with some fucking ridiculous shots in that fight. Ridiculous shots that would have put other guys down and out. But Ike Villanueva stayed there, tried throwing back, but at the end of the day, it was just Chase Sherman. He was too experienced, too skilled, and I feel like he's earned his mainstay back in the UFC. I also feel like Ike probably could have another chance in the UFC. We've got a couple of losers right now. Jorgen De Castro, Ben Sassoli, a bunch of guys in the heavyweight division that are coming off some losses. Felipe Linds, also on this card we're going to get to soon. A bunch of guys that we can have fight EK. He's a tough guy. He can take a bit of a beating. Why not sacrifice his chin some more? He's old anyway. Make the most out of him before he's dead. Either way, Chase Sherman, great performance, great KO in the second round. Dominant from start to finish. I think he should take on Justin Tafa next. Chase Sherman versus Justin Tafa. Both guys at the bottom of the rankings in the UFC heavyweight division. Both guys coming off a big win by TKO against tough guys. Justin Tafa versus Chase Sherman. The winner moves on. The loser stays behind. An amazing fight at heavyweight to make next. Moving on. Hunter Azure versus Bryan Kelleher. Bryan Kelleher had an amazing upset this card. I picked Chase Sherman to win in the original fight on the prelims, but in the second fight, I picked Hunter Azure to win because I thought he's a featherweight. He's way bigger than Bryan Kelleher. He's going to school Bryan Kelleher for the entire fight, and to be honest with you, it looked like I was going to be right. I mean, Hunter Azure here outlanded Bryan Kelleher, doubled the strikes, defended every takedown that Bryan Kelleher went for, but eventually, Bryan Kelleher found the KO shot on Hunter Azure in the second round towards the end, and it was a beautiful shot from Bryan Kelleher, to be fair. But the main thing I want to talk about here, the fight itself was mediocre for Bryan Kelleher. Okay, it wasn't the best performance. He got dominated the entire time. He was on the end of every punch. Every combination was in favour of Hunter Azure. Bryan Kelleher was not having a fun time at things. However, he was landing some good shots. Eventually he got the KO. But the main thing I want to talk about here, regardless of anything that happened, is the call out afterwards. He called out Sugar Sean O'Malley and said he was going to roll him into a spliff and smoke him. I like it, okay? I really like that call out. It means something. Sean O'Malley is the 420 stoner bro of the fucking UFC, so it makes sense to have a weed-themed call out for him. I like it. Bryan Kelleher, I thought, was the opponent to face Sean O'Malley even before he fought this fight with Hunter Azure, but now that he's taken a fight up a weight class during a pandemic and called out O'Malley on the microphone, if O'Malley doesn't take this fight, this is the fight to make next. O'Malley still hasn't beaten a bunch of guys, and if he has, those two guys are no longer in the UFC. Terrion Ware, Andrei Sukumtat, those wins don't mean very much anymore, so I feel like we've also had a rebirth of Sean O'Malley. He's had a one win. I almost consider him on a one-fight win streak right now because he's been off for so long and those guys are no longer in the UFC. I still feel like he has to do a little bit of work outside the rankings before we start giving Sean O'Malley a jump up that he wants. Bryan Kelleher is a great fight for Sean O'Malley. He's called him out on the microphone. Let's make that fight happen. And for Hunter Azure, I have no fucking idea what you're going to do next. But maybe Hunter Azure could take on Charles Rosa. I don't fucking know. But Hunter Azure, yeah. Bad upset to be on the other side of. But Bryan Kelleher made the most out of the mic time. Called out Sean O'Malley. Great stuff. Moving on to the rest of the card. Really showed me who's boss there, Bryan Kelleher, with a great upset. Omar Morales versus Gabriel Benitez. I thought Gabriel Benitez was going to pull off the upset, and to be honest with you, Gabriel Benitez put up a really good fight. He was a good underdog here against Omar Morales because Omar Morales was undefeated. He'd never lost. He had a little bit of an iffy debut in the UFC. And to be honest with you, this fight as well was no easy walk in the park for him. Gabriel Benitez came out there and made it very difficult. I actually thought Gabriel Benitez won the first round and maybe could have edged another round throughout the fight as well. But the judges gave it 30-27 for Omar Morales, which I thought was ridiculous. But however, at least they got the fight right. We can't really complain too much about the judges if they do get the fight right, but just get the wrong scorecards. I thought Benitez could have won a round there. They gave all three to Omar Morales. He got the job done. Omar Morales, the body kick was there for him all night. Every time he looked to trade with the hands, Gabriel Benitez was just a little bit too good for him in terms of the hand combination. Benitez was landing good shots. He landed a lot of shots. The margin of strikes in this fight was not very much. I mean, Omar Morales won by 13 significant strikes in this fight. He looked good while doing it. He had some great kicks. When he does get lured into a brawl with the hands, he does leave some openings, but at the most part, he stays composed, he switches back on, and he starts throwing a lot more kicks to the body, which were working for him the entire night. You could see it hurting Gabriel Benitez, you could see it having an effect on him as the fight went on, and eventually Omar Morales got his hand raised. Beautiful performance. I don't know what I want to see from him next. Lightweights are full of a bunch of killers. Maybe Omar Morales versus Lando Venata would be good. I'm burping internally right now and it's really annoying me. Omar Morales versus Lando Venata would be a good fight. Omar Morales versus fucking anybody would be a great fight. Omar Morales versus Renato Moicano, Brad Riddell. There's a bunch of names right now in the lightweight division that are looking for big name opponents. Omar Morales just had a great performance against Gabriel Benitez. Might even be fight of the night, honestly, because I'm looking at the rest of this card, and although Smith versus Teixeira was a good fight, maybe Smith versus Teixeira is going to get the fight of the night, and Simone Borg, we'll get to those in a second, but this was a great fight on the card. It stood out. It had great back and forth moments. Omar Morales is the real deal. Good job, 10-0, undefeated guy. Let's make the most of him while he's still young, because he is getting a bit older, and we don't want to lose his prime too soon. Moving on, Ciara Eubanks versus Sarah Moras. I hated the idea of this fight because I hate both of them. 4-4 and 6-5 should not be in the UFC. However, it actually wasn't. It didn't make me suicidal. I'll be honest with you. Like, Michelle Waterson versus Carla Esparza ruined almost the entire 249 prelims. However, this fight between Eubanks and Moras, they were actually in range of each other to land shots. You know, Ciara Eubanks looked good. She was outlanding Sarah Moras. She even got takedowns at certain points in the fight. Dominated, won clearly. I know Sarah Moras had some good moments and maybe could have edged herself around, but Ciara Eubanks looked good in the third, looked clean in the first, got the takedowns when she needed them as well. Good win from Ciara Eubanks. I don't know who I want to see her fight next, but hey, you can't argue with that. She looked actually pretty decent at fighting, which is more than you can say for 80% of the women roster. But, you know, Ciara Eubanks looked clean. She looked like she had some decent boxing, some good power as well in the division, and beat Sarah Moras, who was coming off a win herself. So Ciara Eubanks, I don't know who I want to see her fight next. Maybe Macy Chiasson, someone like that, who's also coming off a win. That would be a good fight, I would feel. But Ciara Eubanks, good job. You looked like a fighter, and that's good compared to some of the other fights we've seen on some of these cards. But yeah, great women's bantamweight fight. Really showed up on the headliner of the prelims. They could have really fucked up the headliner of the prelims. They were given an opportunity and they rose to the occasion. And I've got to give my hat off to them, or my beanie off in this case as well. Ciara Eubanks put on a good show and had a great performance. Good job her. Moving on to the main card. I picked her to win as well, by the way. Moving on to the main card. Michael Johnson versus Thiago Moises. People told me that Michael Johnson was going to annihilate Thiago Moises, and I started to believe them, but I held true to my pick of Thiago Moises this whole time. A lot of people were telling me, dude, Michael Johnson looks like a new fighter on the fucking scales. You're ridiculous. You're going to get destroyed, dude. Michael Johnson's going to win. Look how buff he looks at 155. He looked good. But as I could see from the entire fight, Thiago Moises landed one strike the entire time, went straight to he just completely ruined Michael Johnson's leg and he had to tap. I almost said Michael Johnson's, but Michael Johnson's leg just got completely wrenched apart. It was brutal. Thiago Moises got a hold of it, did not let go, got the tap, got the finish. And in the first round, it was very interesting as well because I called it in my commentary. Moises is intentionally doing this to Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson, if he starts winning, he gets very trigger happy with his combinations. Moises was covering up well. He was being very good defensively. Johnson clearly won the first round, but it was all according to plan for Moises, and I said, I guarantee you guys in my commentary, Moises is going to come out in the second round like a bat out of hell. He comes running across the octagon, shoots for a takedown, doesn't get it, pulls guard, gets the leg, and finishes the fight just like that. Very good game plan from Moises to get Michael Johnson a little bit more tired, remove some of that first round power so that when he does pull guard, Michael Johnson doesn't have the power to completely switch him off from on top in ground and pound. Great plan from Moises, great fight, and who knows, actually maybe Thiago Moises could take on Omar Morales. They were on the same card, they're fighting out of the same divisions, they both won on the same card, which means they're going to have similar schedules anyway. Omar Morales versus Thiago Moises? Sounds like a great fight to me, and then the winner of that one can maybe get a jump up the rankings that they want so much. But that's a great fight. Moises versus Omar Morales. Sign me up. Moises, Morales, they both start with M. It's a match made in heaven. Moving on, Andrei Arlovski versus Felipe Linds. Michael Johnson on the other hand. Let me quickly get to him. He can maybe take on Nasrat Haqparast. Arlovski versus Felipe Linds. I picked Linds to win. A lot of people pick Linds to win, but apparently Arlovski can sometimes just take big bombs off heavyweights. I will never understand the chin in MMA. I do understand that the reason why Felipe Linds wasn't KOing Arlovski was because he wasn't surprising him with anything. At least Rosenstruik caught Arlovski with a fadeaway hook that he never even saw coming. Same with Francis Ngannou, caught him with an uppercut while Arlovski was coming in that he never saw coming. KO'd him there. But Felipe Linds, however, it was very obvious when he was going to unload, giving Andrei Arlovski the time to tense his jaw, grit down, get ready to take a bomb. And when you're ready to take a bomb, it doesn't matter how bad your chin is or how many times you've been KO'd, you can take those shots. And Andrei Arlovski won the fight. He won the last 2 rounds convincingly. Scored more points than Linds. Good job, Andrei Arlovski. I feel like Andrei Arlovski versus Greg Hardy should be next. That's just an amazing fight to me. Andrei Arlovski's snapped a huge amount of losses recently. I know he had a big win against Ben Rothwell, but even before then, he had a bunch of losses. Andrei Arlovski versus Greg Hardy. If Andrei wins, fair play to him. Put him back in the rankings. Give him someone tough again. If Greg Hardy wins, this is a great name to do it against. A great guy to maybe get a KO against. And also, Andrei Arlovski just showed that he's still got it. So, Andrei Arlovski, Greg Hardy, great fight. For Felipe Linds, on the other hand, maybe a fight with him and EK Villanueva would be a good one. See who can bounce back and stay in the UFC. Loser goes home, I would say. Or, Felipe Linds, who is a light heavyweight, actually goes down to light heavyweight and fights there instead. Who knows what he's going to do, but Arlovski, I want to see him fight Greg Hardy. 100%. Him versus Greg Hardy is the fight to make. Moving on, Ricky Simone versus Ray Borg. Great fight, man. Great fight from Ricky Simone. A dominant performance from Ricky Simone. But honestly, surprised by Ray Borg. He had some great combinations in this fight. I've never seen Ray Borg stand up look so clean. He was just a little bit out of range, man. His arms are just not long enough. And he just isn't powerful enough to really make Simone pay, because Simone was eating shots against Ray Borg. I picked Ricky Simone to win the fight. I picked him to dominate the fight. I was worried throughout the fight that he was going to get chinned and KO'd, because the way he was mocking Ray Borg after some of those punches were landing. Every single time Ray Borg threw a combination, Ricky Simone had something to say or something to do or just some way of mocking Borg whatsoever. And I was worried for him because I know how that ends up. Guys can get chinned and put out, especially Ricky Simone, who's been chinned before. But Ricky Simone stayed clean. I think maybe the third round was the closest one of the fight. If you're going to give any round to Ray Borg, it maybe could be the third one. It was a split decision, which was absolutely fucking crazy. I have no idea how they scored that a split decision. That would mean you'd have to give one of rounds 1 or 2 to Ray Borg, which is impossible. So that judge needs to be fired immediately. Ricky Simone put on a dominant performance, out-grappled Ray Borg, outstruck Ray Borg. Knew he had the job done in the third round, which I think is why he was sort of allowing Ray Borg to sort of open up with some combos and was okay to shell up against the cage and play defensively. But Ricky Simone gets the job done, dominant performance. I don't know who I want to see him fight at bantamweight. Maybe Montel Jackson. Who knows? We've got Bryan Kelleher versus Sean O'Malley. That leaves Montel Jackson out on the sidelines. Ricky Simone versus Montel Jackson. Or maybe Ricky Simone versus Eddie Wineland, another guy who's sticking around. Those could be some good fights, and I'd look forward to him. Ricky Simone's got a bright future, still young in his career, bounced back with a big win against Borg, who's a tough guy, who's beaten some bantamweights as well, who definitely isn't past his prime because he's only 27 himself, I'm pretty sure. He's still young, in his late 20s, and Ricky Simone put on a dominant performance. Good job, Ricky Simone. Let's do him versus Montel Jackson next. Moving on. Alexander Hernandez versus Drew Dober. Or Ricky Simone versus, what's his name? Andrei, who is coming off a robbery win. So, that could be a good fight. Alexander Hernandez, Drew Dober. Made a full fight reaction video. I'm going to keep these next three pretty short because I've made full videos about all of them. Hernandez Dober was a great fight while it lasted. Amazing back and forth contest. Hernandez just wasn't prepared to move backwards that much, I feel like, was the end result of the fight. The fight was very close in the first round, and they were both as good as each other in that first round. I thought Dober was going to be more dangerous in the first round than Hernandez was, but Hernandez surprised me. He was landing great body kicks. He was moving very well. He was avoiding big shots from Dober in the first round as well. Dober, on the other hand, just kept coming, though. And Hernandez, I don't think, was ready for the amount of forward pressure that Drew Dober was going to put on him. I thought Hernandez had an idea of the fight, that he was going to go out there and freeze Dober in front of him with his footwork and have a field day on Dober's face. But that just wasn't what happened. Hernandez had some good takedowns in the fight, landed 3 out of 5 of his takedowns. Good takedowns in the second round as well. He just wasn't urgent enough on top to realise that he needed that top control so desperately, because as soon as he got back up, he was too tired, and Dober caught him on his way back up with a great shot. Hernandez should have been more prepared getting back up. You don't get back up lackluster like your opponent's just going to let you do it nice and safe. He should have been more aware. Dober caught him with a good shot as he got back to his feet and just swarmed him. But Hernandez showed a great chin, took some shots well, went down eventually and wasn't really defending himself when he got back up, so the referee had to step in. It was a justified stoppage. Dober was piecing him up pretty badly. But that was a great fight between two top guys in a division. I think this should have been co-main event, and Dober got the finish in the second round. Looked great. I feel like next for Drew Dober could be Islam Makhachev, or perhaps a rebooking with his fight with Diego Ferreira, which was supposed to be around this time anyway, that eventually got rescheduled. And for Alexander Hernandez, hey, chin up. Well, chin down in the fight, but chin up outside the cage now that you're outside of it. Great performance, man. You actually did pretty good. I thought, in the stand-up department, you were going to get smoked by Dober. I thought his only chance I picked Hernandez to win. I thought he was going to go out there and work a wrestling clinic on Dober, which, to be fair, he did get him down a couple times. He just couldn't keep him there. Chin up, Hernandez. You're still young. You've got a chance to regroup. You've got a chance to get things together. Kevin Lee is going to be back in 6 months looking for an opponent, and I'm assuming he's going to slide down the rankings a bit in the meantime. Kevin Lee versus Alexander Hernandez for a relevancy bout to see who is going to start right back at the bottom of the pile and who's going to start right back in the rankings would be a great fight, I feel. Kevin Lee, Alexander Hernandez, give it 6 months. We'll make it at the end of the year around December. Sounds good to me. Let's see who's going to stick around. But Dober really did impress. I hope he got a performance bonus. It was a great performance from him. Moving on, Rothwell OSP, embarrassing fight while it lasted. It was entertaining, I guess. Rothwell completely outlanded him, but I mean, OSP knocked him down. It was just a bit of a shit fight, I'll be honest with you. I made a full fight reaction video to this all, but it was hard to react to be honest with you. I was kind of cringing throughout it because it was just a bit of a mess. A bit of a sloppy back and forth, drunken bar fight. I don't know what OSP's plan was, but either way, Ben Rothwell got a jump on him, got a decision win by split decision. I didn't think it was that close. I thought Rothwell was going to get the job done. I know why they gave some rounds to OSP, because he did drop Rothwell in a certain round, and he did knock Rothwell off balance in another round. Maybe they could have given him the steal because of those reasons. I think OSP should go back to like a heavyweight where he belongs. If you can't beat Ben Rothwell, you're not going to beat the top 10. You're not going to beat the top 15. There's a bunch of guys you're not going to beat if you can't beat Big Ben, if you know what I'm saying. OSP back to light heavyweight, fight Jimmy Crute, and Ben Rothwell on the other hand, you should definitely be looking. I know you're looking for a fight with Alexei Olenek. However, maybe a fight with Cyril Gane or Sergey Pavlovich, or maybe Marcin Tybura as well, could be something that is a little bit more achievable. I don't think they're going to jump Rothwell up the rankings to top 10, in my opinion. But who knows? Maybe him versus Gane would be good. Him versus Tybura would be good as well. Any of those fights make sense to me. Sign me the fuck up. Moving on. Anthony Smith versus Glover Teixeira. Anthony Smith lost at the fight. Teixeira took advantage of Smith losing and won. Is how I feel about that. Teixeira had a great performance, don't get me wrong, but Anthony Smith just I mean, those teeth kept coming out. It was just the story of the fight. I've done a full fight reaction video where I reacted to this for about 14 minutes and just ramble non-stop about it and all the things that I thought. But, I mean, Anthony Smith came out, looked like a fucking new man in the first round. Looked good in the second round as well, like he was going to completely work a shop on Glover Teixeira. And then Teixeira landed one shot that didn't even look that big. And Smith just never recovered. His eye was fucked up, then his teeth were falling out in the middle of the fight, his new teeth that he has, his veneers were falling out in the middle of the fight. It was just all a fucking mess, and a bad night for the UFC, because they wanted Anthony Smith to win, and that's going to be a real troubling... It's going to be really hard to pick Anthony Smith in the future. I'll tell you that much, because those teeth coming out, they're not going to get better. Like, if he gets hit in the chin again, the teeth are going to come out easier this time. Like, he hasn't got his teeth anymore. Like his normal teeth that are stuck to his gums. Why would you go through this mind-boggling surgery in the middle of your fighting career? Not to mention, you're not even doing this to look more attractive. You have a wife and kids. I have no idea, but either way, Anthony Smith lost the fight. Glover Teixeira took advantage of a wounded Anthony Smith, got on top of him, beat the shit out of him. In hindsight, when Anthony Smith is telling his cornermen that his teeth are falling out, maybe they should have stopped it. But, you know, Smith was doing good at the start of the fourth. So that's kind of not... I get why the corner should have stopped that fight. I really do. But in hindsight, we're all geniuses about this whole situation. In the moment, I'm sure the corner and Anthony Smith himself are thinking, if I can just land something and turn this fight around, I can get the win here. I'm not willing to give up on getting a title shot back. But he lost. Glover Teixeira won. John Jones is wanking somewhere about all of this, laughing at Anthony Smith. And Anthony Smith... didn't win. He lost. Glover Teixeira got the jump on him. And now Glover Teixeira is top 5, which is crazy to me. Anthony Smith should take on Corey Anderson next. Glover Teixeira should either take on Thiago Santos or Rumble Johnson next. And those are the fights that should happen. Thank you for watching. This was my 4-event recap. It was an amazing fight card while it lasted. I got the main event wrong. I got a lot of fights wrong on the card. Bad night of predictions for all, I believe, but a fun night of fights, so who the fuck cares? I just kind of wish that Roberson versus Vettori was still on there, because that was my favourite fight on the entire card. However, it seems like Vettori's going to get a different opponent in Neil Magny at a future date, so I'm looking forward to it, Vettori. Good stuff. Hopefully we can just stack up another card in the next few days. We'll see what happens. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Click that button there. Goodbye. Great performances by everyone. Good job.